The story of the Filipino farmer is one of the struggle and hope. During the early 90s, many farmers worked on land they did not own. To address this growing problem, the government enacted the Rice Share Tenancy Act of 1993, also known as Republic Act Number 4054. This law aimed to protect tenant farmers and ensure fairness in the sharing of rice harvest between landlords and tenants. The salient features of the Act. Its main goals were to establish a 50-50 crop sharing between landlord and tenant, impose a 10% interest ceiling on tenant loans, and prevent the unjust dismissal of tenants. A rice share contract is a partnership between a landlord and a tenant where both agree to work together in the cultivation of rice. Profits and losses are divided equally, ensuring shared responsibility and benefits.
A landlord is the legal owner or possessor of agricultural land cultivated by another. A tenant is a farmer or laborer who undertakes to cultivate the land for the landlord.
The execution and registration of tenancy contract. The tenancy contract must be written in triplicate documents signed by both parties before witnesses and filed with the municipal treasurer, and it becomes official once registered in the registry of tenancy contracts. Duration of contract. Tenancy contract lasts according to the terms agreed upon by both parties. If no duration is specified, it is understood to cover one agricultural year, which refers to the time needed for land preparation, planting, and harvesting. Rules governing tenancy contracts can include any agreements between landlord and tenant as long as they do not violate laws, customs, morals, and public policy. Basis of sharing. If no written agreement existed, the harvest was divided equally between landlord and tenant, provided that both shared equally in labor and expenses.
Tenants could borrow money or agricultural products from the landlord for planting or harvesting, but the law limited the interest to only 10% per year. Any rate higher than that was considered illegal.
The rights and obligations of the landlord.
The landlord oversees the management of the farm and holds a lien on the tenant's share only up to 85% if dips exist. A tenant may be dismissed only for valid reasons such as gross misconduct, negligence, violation of obligations, fraud, leasing without permission, or committing a crime against the landlord.
Rights and obligations of tenant.
A tenant cannot be removed from the land until reimbursed for his expenses in cultivation or improvement. He may build a house on the land not exceeding 500 square meters and establish a garden or small industry for a livelihood. If dismissed, the tenant has 45 days to vacate. The tenant must also properly cultivate and maintain the land and take care of work animals and farm tools provided by the landlord.
When can a tenant leave his or her landlord? Tenant may leave before the contract ends only for the following reasons: cruel or inhuman treatment by the landlord, non-compliance with the law or contract, being forced to perform unrelated work. Penalties. Any act of deceit, fraud, or malice in violation of this law is punishable under Article 318 of the Revised Penal Code. Despite its noble intent, the Act had major weaknesses. It could only be implemented if a mayor of municipal council requested it, and many were controlled by landowners. Contract lasted only 1 year, and there was no limit to land ownership. The Philippine Rice Share Tenancy Act was one of the earliest laws to promote justice and fairness between landlords and tenants. It introduced crop sharing rules, loan limits, and protection from unfair eviction. However, weak implementation allowed landowners to maintain dominance, leaving many tenants poor. Despite the flaws, the act laid the foundation for future land reform programs in the Philippines. It symbolized the beginning of our nation's long struggles toward agrarian justice and inequality.